Hi there. My name is John Torres, and for the Become a Philosopher project, I decided to tackle exercise philosophy. So there's a couple of reasons why. So first, this directly relates to my future career. I plan on going into physical therapy and also specializing in strength and conditioning and things like that. So obviously physical activities is a very big part of what I want to go into and who I am today. I love exercising. I love going to the gym, I love running, and I love just being overall just well with my physical activity. And I like helping others with physical activity. I think that's one of the funnest, most fulfilling parts of my life. Additionally, it's because I don't know a whole lot about exercise philosophy. So the only reason I really even knew that exercise philosophy was a thing was because of my introductory to kinesiology course that I took at UCL last semester. We very vaguely, we didn't get too much into it, so I kind of knew it existed, and I knew it kind of covered more abstract topics within the fitness realm when a majority of it's very objective, very concrete. So I kind of wanted to see, what exercise philosophers exist. So in doing my research, I was shocked to find that a lot of the philosophers that we've covered in this class have at some point talked about physical activity, and that made me really excited. So philosophers such as Plato, Aristotle, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, even Thomas Jefferson, one of our presidents, have spoken about physical activity to some capacity. So I thought that was really cool. But kind of the biggest point I want to get into, specifically with my philosophy with exercise, is that it's more than just, getting big biceps or, being strong, being powerful. I think you aren't the best you when you're not active. I think a sedentary lifestyle or a lifestyle where you're not doing a whole lot of moving isn't the best representation of you. So there's a couple things I want to get into. So first of all, our bodies have evolved / were designed to move. So one source, and I'll cite all of these in my MLA, was in Praise of Walking, rather my works cited, In Praise of Walking by Shane O'Mara. So Shane O'Mara isn't explicitly a philosopher. However, when you read the book, you realize that a lot of what he's saying is very philosophical. It's not super, concrete. However, he talks about kind of the importance of just walking. How the fact that we are bipedal, and we are like the only bipedal animal on Earth, name a few exceptions, is a very interesting evolutionary / biological kind of perspective because of what we can do with that. So one really cool connection I made was a quote from Henry David Thoreau. So we didn't talk about him in our class. However, in history, you learn about him a lot. But he says, "The writing which consists with habitual sitting is mechanical, wooden, dull to read." So what he's saying is that, just for an example, when you're writing and you're just writing at a desk and you're not doing anything, that type of writing is dull and wooden to read. And a little bit more of the quote, he says that when he gets up, that it's like his brain explodes and he has ideas and it's like a different person. Well, in this book, they talk about how they did some actual studies recently where they would do some cognitive experiments with people, and they would do them with a sitting group and with a walking group. And they found that the group that walks were able to cognitively, they were just more adept than the group that was sitting. It was almost as if moving activated their brain a little bit more. And I thought that was fascinating. So the fact that just the simple action of moving, all they were doing is walking, they weren't doing anything crazy, just walking, was able to enhance their cognitive ability. So already this has nothing to do with building big muscles, building power, strength, endurance. Just being able to walk was enough to get another side of them, a more enhanced, more, upgraded side of them. And I thought that was really cool. So additionally, another source that I really love is this book called No Sweat by Michelle Sagar. Again, she is not explicitly a philosopher. However, a big part of her philosophy in this book doesn't even necessarily work with just physical activity in general, but it's just the fact that if you don't enjoy something, you aren't going to do it consistently. So in the framework of the book, she's discussing how if you for example, don't enjoy weightlifting. You know it's good for you. It's great. There's plenty of science to prove that it's great. However, if you don't like it, you're not going to do it. And that's okay. That is fine. There are always alternatives to things. And I really took that mindset to heart because that applies to many things. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it. For example, learning an instrument. If you don't enjoy practicing the instrument, you're not going to do it. So maybe find a way that you can kind of configure it into something that you enjoy doing. Because enjoyment is kind of the fundamental block of everything. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it. And to me, that's something I apply into many aspects of my life. And it's made living, just in general, very enjoyable. I mean, to put it simply, when I go to the gym, as kind of controversial as it might seem, I don't do workouts that I don't enjoy because I know I will not be able to do them consistently, and it's just a drag. And humans, we tend to navigate towards things we like, or rather gravitate, and the opposite. So if you don't like doing super heavy, sweating, going crazy exercise, that's fine. You don't have to do that. Do what you enjoy doing, because if you enjoy it, you'll do it, and that's the goal. So kind of getting into some of the talk from some of the philosophers that we've covered. For example, Plato, he said, lack of activity destroys the good condition of every human being, while movement and methodical physical exercise save it and preserve it. So again, all of these philosophers kind of say something along the same lines. They understand the importance of physical activity more than just the physical aspect of it, but how it's so much more profound that you are not you when you are not doing something, when you are not physically moving. Lack of activity destroys the good condition. Aristotle, that is better which is inherent in things better or prior or more honorable. Thus health is better than strength and beauty. Who cares how strong you are? Who cares how beautiful you are if you're not healthy? You can be strong and not be healthy. That works. Strength and health do not coincide. Jean-Jacques Rousseau, in every school gymnasium, a place for physical exercise should be established for the children. He understands the importance of letting kids, especially developing children, get into physical activity, get into exercise. And then Thomas Jefferson speaks about how it's good to spend time in nature, doing physical activity in nature. And again, this book talks about a lot of stuff, and one of them is walking in nature, and how there's lots and lots of research about how it lowers blood pressure and how it's so good for you to get outside and smell the air and smell the trees and whatnot. But again, to put it all kind of into perspective, all of these philosophers from vastly different times in history all understand this same concept. You are not your best you if you're not doing physical activity. And that's not to say that you have to be doing physical activity 24/7, every day of every second of all the time. No. But just in general, people who have consistent physical activity, they're at maybe not their best, but they're much better than someone who's not doing anything. So is this relevant to us today? Yes. According to the CDC, roughly 40.6% of adults in Oklahoma are obese. That is nearly 50%. And additionally, according to PBS, only 14% of Americans said they were very happy. New York Post, 48.9% of teens said they were not happy with life. So just goes to show that there's a lot of unhappiness around our nation and a lot of obesity. And I know causation and doesn't necessarily coincide with correlation. One doesn't equal the other, and I understand that. However, I do think there is some overlap. Lots of obesity, not a lot of movement. People aren't doing what they enjoy. I think all these things kind of coincide. So yes, this is very relevant. And it's funny because this wasn't nearly as relevant to these philosophers in the past, where people were moving more in general. So it goes even more to show that even though obesity wasn't a bad problem for them at that point, they still understood the importance of moving. Not because of obesity. Obesity and physical activity don't have to, coincide together. They can exist separately. They understood just physical activity in its own merit, not to look a certain way, not to be strong, but just to be the best you. So, and it's an interesting connection that all these philosophers tasked with finding these deep truths about life all still manage to talk a little bit about physical activity. So that's awesome. It just goes to show how important it is. But kind of on a personal reflection, how do these philosophies affect me? Well, this gives me a little bit more that I can use when talking to others about physical activity. Maybe I can convince them with some of this. And I think my obligation while I'm here on earth is to quote unquote preach the fitness gospel. I love fitness. I want everybody to get into fitness. And that's why I'm talking for so long when this is supposed to be a 3 to 5 minute project. However, I think there's a lot to talk about with the exercise philosophy. And I'll wrap up in a second. But yeah, my obligation is to teach what I learn. I want to know everything about physical activity and nutrition and lifting and health and every single aspect, so I can share it in a digestible way that people can understand, where they can come to me and ask, John, how do I do this and that and that? And I can tell them to the best of my ability. So my personal plea to end this is to start doing something. Just remember, anything is better than nothing. And that's something to keep the heart with. Anything you do, any step forward is better than nothing. When we're talking about physical activity specifically, 10 minutes a day is better than 0 minutes a day. So I really hope that you enjoyed and you got something out of this, and you have a good day. Thank you.